It's about getting into schools and talking to young people because, you know, I know that people can change. And it's about talking to people and getting them to understand and perhaps step back from violence and prejudice and whatever. And we just need to work together and keep on the good fight there.
Absolutely. Hey there, guys. We are ecstatically happy to announce that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation.
The times are changing, and with the unfortunate death of Sophie, those changes have made a massive impact for the future. If Sophie was with us still today, I can guarantee what you are doing will still be reaching so many lives of young teenagers, young adults, and those who wish to be as different as possible. So thank you very much.
To find out more about this incredible foundation and all the work they do, and more importantly, how you can help, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
Hey, this is Molly Rennick from Living Dead Girl.
I'm Jeremy Saffer, rock photographer.
Hey, this is Baz Black.
Hey guys, this is John Karabi.
Hey there, this is Ron Wasserman, the nut that wrote Go-Go Power Rangers.
Hi everyone, my name is Matt. I am the host of the Nevermind Polly Podcast. You're listening to the Chronicles of Podcast with Jamie and Tom. Enjoy.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's the first episode of 2023, Jamie.
I know!
Back. I was going to say back with a vengeance, but we're not really Die Hard 3, are we? So I just say we're back once again with the Renegade Master, and we found the ill behaviour. So we're coming in hot. But I do believe, Jamie, this is the 69th edition of the Chronicles of Podcast.
69, dude.
And I do believe that these are the chronicles of Matthew Bacon from the Nevermind Polly Podcast.
Oh yeah, they are indeed.
Wonderful. Well, we don't have driving, so maybe we should row into the show.
Go on then.
Sounds fun. Let's go. Hit it. Still, we move on. Let's get to the piece of resistance. Welcome to the Chronicles of Matthew Bacon from the Nevermind Polly Podcast. Matt even is a podcaster from the Nevermind Polly Podcast, as I just said. I think his shows are in half an hour stints. He interviews bands from the world of rock and metal. He attends festivals, he attends gigs, reviews them, talks about them, reviews festival announcements, does album reviews. If you can think of it in the world of rock and metal, he's probably done it.
Absolutely. He just absolutely loves the world of rock and metal. He has a love for journalism and wants to do that for his living. So, do you know what? Took the power in his hands. I want to do that. I'll do that. Here you go. Here's the Nevermind Polly the Podcast. And it is absolutely fantastic. He spoke to some incredible guests. Some guests we've shared, like Seamus Byrne, Defects, Lena Scissorhands. They are all fantastic episodes, and we cannot recommend you go check them out enough. As Tom just said, his episodes are short, 20 to 30 minutes. Nice bite size. Sometimes you look at a podcast and you go, I do not want to listen to someone waffle on for ages. Me personally, I love that style, which is why we do it. But sometimes you just want it bite sized. Like, I need it bite sized, Dave. And this is perfect for you. It's absolutely fantastic interviews, fantastic content. Go and check out Matt's show and go check out this interview with Matt because it's absolutely brilliant and he's hilarious.
And the fact that Jamie just basically took every single word out of my mouth, there's no need for me to carry on. So we shall get straight down to it. Jamie!
Yes, sir.
Any final words at all?
Just a massive thank you to Matt. And as you're all going to hear shortly, I apologise about the start. We're very silly boys.
Yeah, it was just sex jokes. Sex jokes. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, interviewing this week, it's Matthew Bacon of the Nevermind Polly Podcast.
Yeah, Matt, how you doing, mate? Champion.
Do you reckon you could keep it up?
No, I'd laugh.
The accent, that is, not your cock.
Hey.
Sex jokes, because we're men. Talk about having penises, because we're men. Sex jokes.
Hello, are you there?
What's going on?
Hello, my friend. Yeah.
How are we? I love that I joined at that very moment. That was amazing.
Is it my headphone? You're coming through really fucking loud. Is it my headphones?
It's very loud.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll turn me down. There we go.
Please, if you wouldn't mind. We're like, oh, this is great. Yeah, this is wonderful. It's not the entire thing. Do you know what I mean? So
tell us a story.
Is that better?
That's up slightly a bit quiet now. Sorry, Matt.
That's okay. You're all right. Tell me when it's good.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
I was going to fucking tell you what to do this entire episode, all right? So, what joke did you enjoy, sorry?
Just, I joined and it was very chaotic and it's my kind of energy. It's the kind of energy I need today.
It's just because we were talking about Yorkshire, because we like doing the Yorkshire accent. My family are from Yorkshire, so we like doing the Yorkshire accent. And then Jamie was like, do you reckon we can keep it for the whole interview? And I was like, what, the accent or your dick? We're men, sex jokes. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense now. The context makes a lot of sense.
I wasn't sure what point you came in, so I was like...
I came in at that exact bit when you were like, way dick jokes, and I was like, okay, we're in.
Okay.
It's all good.
It's such a male thing to do, though, isn't it? It's like, you know, did you get one? Did you give her one? Well, man, testosterone.
Absolutely.
It's just... Sorry, I can't help my... Do you know what, right? It's because it's the new year. I'm absolutely buzzing for podcasting this year, and I just thought, fuck it, let's go in with... I wore a jacket for you, Matt, right? So I thought, hopefully it doesn't look too pretentious or like, you know, twattish. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like, oh yeah, well, I obviously am a podcaster because I wear a jacket now, so...
Is that what we do?
Apparently so.
It's all good. I'll pre-warn you now. I've got tissues and I've got juice because I'm absolutely dying. I've got the worst cold, but I'm fighting my way through.
I wonder where this is
God
going.
bless you, my friend.
No,
I've got tissues. I've got moisturizer. Let's go, boys.
You talk about dicks? We're in. We're sorted.
Man size.
Literally.
I mean, I'd be quite concerned if that's a lot of moisturizer. I'd be slightly concerned. Yeah, sorry. Let me just get it out of my sock. Just give me a second.
Let me unravel it for you, Benjamin.
Yeah. Just give me about a minute or two. All right. It's like, oh, so your dick enters the room 10 minutes before you do.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt's here. Wait, it might be a while, but he's definitely arrived. Sorry. I know it's an interview we need to do. You know, I'm just.
I was so confused, but I love it. I love the energy. I love
it.
I'm keeping all this in. I don't give a shit. It's fucking great.
All the women will be like, "Oh God, turn it off."
Everyone except my missus, who just seems to enjoy everything I do for some reason, is mad.
That's great. That's support. That's what you want. You fucking want that.
Literally, she always says to me, she's like, "Oh, you're just like the most perfect man." I'm like, "You fucking need glasses. I've got a pair if you want a pair." Like,
whoa. No. You should take that the other way around. Be like, "Yeah, I know. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you." Yeah. Soak it all in. Don't fucking be like, "Actually, love, you're wrong. I'm actually a piece of shit."
Tell me something I didn't know.
Literally.
Right.
We're not normally this chaotic, Matt. Sorry.
I mean,
fine. So good.
Basically, Matt, as I don't know if you've ever watched our show, but you should know the process of obviously. Oh, well, you're too kind, sir. Jamie does a nice little interview. Fucking hell, let me start that again. Jamie does a nice little introduction. What I'm trying to say begins with I. You know,
yeah, that's good.
I can be forgiven. I was going to say it's been a long day, but I think that's a bullshit excuse. So he's going to lure you. He's going to bring you in, and you'll be like, guys, this is quite nice to be here. And then we're going to absolutely bombard the living fuck out of you with questions, and you're not going to know what's going on. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Good. I mean, you're already laughing, so that's I think honestly, a bit of a winner.
It's the chaotic energy at the beginning. I was like, well, I was not expecting that. Let's go.
To be fair, you're probably the first person we've ever welcomed into a Zoom call with dick jokes, dick jokes. So
it's a first for everything here, boys.
Literally.
Right, let's get this intro out of the way.
Go on.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week we bring you our first guest of 2023, and it's a doozy. This week's guest, like us, is a lover of music and hearing people's stories. Because of that, this week's guest started his very own incredible show where he talks to different musicians from all across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, today we welcome you to the Chronicles of Matt Bacon and Nevermind Polly Podcast.
Hello, gents. Thank you. That's
Hi,
a
Matt.
lovely little intro. How are we? How's things?
Very well. Yourself, sir?
I'm good. We've had a very chaotic start. We can't deny the chaotic start that we were talking about. I won't go into it. I'll let you guys divulge if you want to talk about it. But yeah, I'm good.
I suppose it's almost like the little beginning of people like get warmed up for it, I suppose. Because normally we used to edit it straight out and then have it as like a little special piece. But now Jamie just goes, do you know what? I can't be fucked to edit this. I'm just going to leave it in.
Honestly, the no editing rule is pretty standard with the podcast that obviously I do, in the sense of although it has not gotten me into trouble, but we've become very friendly with conversations and things. And then the band's gone, fuck, we need to edit that all out. And I'm like, okie dokie. And it's part of the thing. But yeah, generally I'm like, it doesn't get edited. So if you say it, it's on you. So I will return the favor. If I say it, it's on me, not on you boys. So it's all good.
But the way is, I just like keeping that conversation flowing. It sounds weird if sudden stops and starts. It's just
absolutely.
Jane, I was joking. It's all right.
It's fine. You're picking on me again.
Just don't take it personally. It's okay, right?
No.
We'll have a little cuddle later. It'll be fine. Okay.
It's okay.
Normally, Matt, I'm tempted to now change this first question because it was so long ago, which is mental to say in itself anyway. But I'm going to ask you anyway because I think I'm still quite interested to know what people did. How was your pandemic season?
Okay, cool. My pandemic season. Yeah, for sure. So as for most people, it was such a weird thing. So not to dive into the politics of it, but geographically where COVID started in China and all that kind of end of the country, and being geographically based in the UK, watching COVID spread and watching nobody in power do anything about it was nothing short of terrifying. But the fact that we all, majority of at least, made it out okay was kind of like, oh, okay, we're not going to do nothing. I was in France. We're not going to do anything. It's okay. But it's kind of, what is funny is I stupidly, or not stupidly, it depends how you look at it, decided to go on holiday March 2020, which is my birthday. And I was in Paris 3 days before they shut the border, which much to my parents' dismay and kind of amusement now, they went, well, it's not that far to swim across the channel. And I'm like, true, it's not. But yeah, so to the point that I was due to fly back on the Monday. And because Paris is such a big city anyway, it was a case of I left like seeing the Louvre, for example, till the Sunday. And I was like, I'll wait, do the big attraction on the Sunday, get it out of the way. And literally the authorities were like, everything's shutting down. We're locking up. Like where no one's going anywhere. And at that point, I was like, get me the fuck to the airport, get me the fuck home. But yeah, it was a bit mad.
You say that your parents in the channel's not that big. If you can't see the country on the opposite from, the horizon, it's definitely pretty fucking big.
And also, this is the same parents who put me in for a 50-meter swimming class when I was little and failed to make it, nearly drowned. To the point where I say that like I didn't actually drown, but it was probably about 5-6 years ago, I decided to take up some sort of like fitness regime because obviously I'm a fitness god, as you can tell. But I decided to go swimming with my sister and my mum, and again, just in my local pool, and again, just nearly drowned because my legs just didn't want to work. And like I was swimming like half across the pool, and I was like, I seem to be sinking like a rock going to the bottom of the pool. Had a bit of a panic and was like, no, fuck swimming. It's not for me.
Unless when you hit the bottom and Poseidon's like, I finally got you. Welcome, Matthew.
Literally.
It makes me laugh with swimming. Everyone's like, oh, swimming's easy. It's just you get in the water, move back. These people, I'm convinced they've never actually tried properly swimming.
Yeah, absolutely. But the joke is, so I'm from Norfolk/Suffolk. I'm literally on the border between the two counties. And I know a lot of people throw a lot of shade at Norfolk and Suffolk saying we're all inbred and all the rest of it. But joke's on them because climate change is real, boys, and we are in where I'm geographically located is the flattest land. So when the floods do happen, I'll just swim away with my webbed feet. I'll be fine.
Like, I'm hoping there was a webbed feet joke in
yeah,
there.
you can all sit and make jokes about us, like from Suffolk and Norfolk, but we'll all be all right. We'll just swim way to the Highland. It's all good. The rest of you are fucked.
Norwich is a lovely city. I've been there.
It's
gorgeous.
It's really nice.
It's so weirdly stunning. It's not somewhere you think, you go, the Cotswolds, stunning. Edinburgh, what a city. Norwich. It's also on there. It's like, I was walking around there going, look, it's like Bath. It's gorgeous here.
It's so weirdly quaint. And you make the joke about Bath. I've been to Bath once or twice. And again, I went there and met a few friends due to my absolute love of Ench Kyrie. And it was a case of wanting to go and see them. They were playing in a place called Froome, which is in Somerset near Bath, and literally had no idea what it was. Booked the ticket, then realised it was in Somerset, which is probably fucking too far to travel for anything, really. And so I went to this tiny little fucking town in the middle of nowhere, met some amazing people, and they all sounded like me. And I was like, fucking incredible. We're from different ends of the country, but we sound the same. So I'm convinced it's a Michael McIntyre joke where he's like, a group of farmers started off in Norfolk and said, you stay here, you go that way. They got to London and everyone's like, hello, and they keep fucking walking. And that's how they ended up in the West Country. That's how you get two groups of the same people.
Incredible.
I like that.
But yeah, to answer the question about the COVID situation, yeah, it was kind of one of those things where it's like, oh, this will be fine to have a bit of time off from work. And then 9 months later, lost a job, got a girlfriend, lost a girlfriend, got a new girlfriend, everything. Yeah, started a podcast. Crazy, really. How about you boys?
Busy boy. Jesus Christ. Yeah. COVID-wise, I'm trying to think now.
It feels like a very long time ago. Yeah.
I moved to Wales.
Absolutely.
That's what I remember. Amazing. I lived in Cheltenham, which is very close to the Welsh border anyway, and then just hopped over onto Cardiff. Now I'm in Newport with my lovely lady. So that's probably the bit. Other than that, I was on furlough for a year. That was great for the summer. And as soon as autumn started kicking, like, okay, well, I've seen everywhere, I've walked everywhere. What do we do now? Netflix is complete.
Absolutely. Pornhub complete.
Yeah.
To get back to previous jokes.
Yeah. YouPorn and Red Hamster all done.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what else to do with myself. Oh, this is a thing now. Cool.
This will be an awkward one.
It's when they brought sport back. That was the best fucking moment ever. When rugby came back, I was like, yes. And then everything was golden after that.
Absolutely. Just a load of load of bearded, chunky men running around. That's right up your street, Tom. I totally get it.
Oh, mate, like you wouldn't believe. You wouldn't fucking believe, yeah.
It's about my COVID. I don't really bloody remember what I did. I got a new job. I did a hell of a lot of Joe Wick's YouTube videos and spent an awful lot of time with a 3-year-old, which almost drove me to the point of insanity. But other than that, yeah, it was fine. Just cracked on, don't you?
That's the thing. I didn't come out with any children, which is very good. I'm very pleased about that. So, luckily, my sister picked up the slack, and she's had one, and she's now got another one due in like 10 days. So she picked up the slack for us. Yeah, thanks. It's not my child to bring it back to the Norfolk joke. I know, but I could just see the pieces being put together by someone else listening. And gone, no, it's not
Jamie's. Look at Jamie. Look at him. Look at him. It's definitely. Look at Jamie. Oh, shut up. It's your stuff laughing. Oh, I didn't think of that. You definitely did.
I probably did a little bit, yeah.
Dirty boy.
Honestly, I'm the most self-deprecating guest you'll ever have on. It's fine.
So we're sorry, guys. We apologise.
God, you've got some really good people behind you for this podcast. I'm just making, jokes anyway.
It's all good.
So take us back, Matt. Take us back to the days when you were a young wee lad. What did young Master Bacon want to be when he was growing up?
You said masturbator is funny. No, what did I want to do when I grew up? So when I was like really young, maybe like 6 or 7, wanted to be some sort of like either a doctor or potentially working like on the railways. But one of those things isn't going to happen in my lifetime. So, Sorry, British Whale, you have to wait. Got to be a doctor, obviously. But no, no. When I discovered music about 12, 13, basically kind of want to do what I'm kind of getting away with doing now, but not being paid for it. And somehow no one's told me no with the podcast, and just sitting with reading like the pages of Kerrang, Metal Hammer, and going, well, this is cool. I want to do what these people are doing. Not as in playing, but like listening to people's lives, and now podcasting allows you to kind of do that. So yeah, it's kind of like a nice full circle moment, really.
I love that. So obviously there is a big passion for metal music. You just mentioned that there, reading the pages of Kerrang and Metal Hammer. Where did that come from? Where did that love of metal come from?
My dad, 100%. My dad is very much so. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the band Rush, but
yeah.
I am a long-term sufferer of the band Rush, as is my poor mother, sister, brother. Anyone who knows my dad. No, that seems a little harsh. No, but he is such a music fan in terms of the rock music rather than anything else. So like, yeah, it basically come from him. And my first show I went to when I was 14, which is mental. We were allowed to go to a show when you were 14, the UEA in Norwich, and I dragged him along to see Dragon Force of all bands. And my dad has seen some big bands. He's seen like Sabbath and Ozzy back in the day, Maiden and all the rest of it back in the day, Pink Floyd and whatever else. And he, to this day, says it's the worst thing he's ever seen, like Quick with pencils in his ears. But again, Guitar Hero 3 in 2008 was massive. And Through the Fire and Flames was it. My 14-year-old self was loving life.
That's so fun to play on Guitar Hero 3. Like,
I just wish I could play
on medium, you're like, fuck! Like, I think that's literally all I did every single day. It's great. That was awesome fun.
Dragon Force are great live, innit? What's your dad on about?
So I watched them. I think it was probably download 2017, 2018, something like that. And I watched them from the back of the field, and I'd had a few beers, and I was like, "Yeah, sorry, Dad. It was a bit cruel to put you through this." Looking back at it, but I kind of actually no. Again, this is probably me being horrible to my old man. So no, it's not. It's not. It's a double-edged sword. I remember double-edged sword. So one of his favorite bands is Deep Purple, right? Got nothing really against Deep Purple, but prog is kind of one of those things where I'm like, I either love it or I don't. And Deep Purple sits in the camp of very talented, clearly, but just not my cup of tea. But I booked in the ticket on the back of the fact that Europe were playing as support. And like, he hands down, his most hated record is The Final Countdown. So you can imagine my like joy at handing him this ticket for Deep Purple and going, "Oh, happy Christmas." I think it was Christmas. Happy Christmas, Dad. He's like, "Oh, amazing. We'll go to London, go see Deep Purple. It'll be great." Like, it was father bonding experience. I'm like, yeah. He's like, "Here's a support act." And I was like, "Europe." And he's like, "You are fucking kidding." I was just like, no, seriously. And he was like, "Oh, all right, fair enough." And we went to set the O2, and I paid about 75, 80 quid for a ticket. So it was expensive. But that about 4.5 minutes of seeing my dad in pure, just absolute dread, me on my hands, just fucking slapping him, they go, "Come on, it's the final count." And he's going, "I fucking hate this record." And then the guitar solo comes in, and he's literally gone, "I fucking hate this so much." But the joke was on him because I had to sit through 2.5 hours of Deep Purple. So, yeah.
It was hours.
It was about 2 hours. It felt like 2.5 hours.
Felt like 2.5 hours.
I think that was just the keyboard solo, to be honest.
It's just the intro to Highway Star. That's all that was.
Yeah, literally grueling.
I find now though, with like gigs and shows and stuff, like, you used to watch. You could like people back in the day could go watch like Guns N' Roses in like I don't know, Folkestone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
or fucking
absolutely.
Like in like tiny little venues. Now we have to spend 80, 90 quid, like you just said, to go watch something we don't really like very much at Wembley or at the Stadium of Light or the Etihad. Do you know what I mean? Because for some reason, stadium shows are a thing. That's like, why can't they come back? I saw Fozzy. Right, so Chris Jericho's band in a tiny little barn in Cheltenham, which was absolutely It was an absolute sweat pit, but my God, it was incredible for like 15 quid, I think. And yet, I don't understand how, I guess it's like inflation, the way the world is now, and all that bollocks, but like how it's gone from, you could spend like £1 or 4 quid to go and see Ozzy in this tiny little venue in Ipswich. And then all of a sudden it's like, now you have to go to London and see him for £150, but he's like 80 million years old now.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well. Like, it doesn't, I think it's such a rock metal kind of thing. And I know that other artists, like, you know, big rap artists and stuff, you pay a lot of money for. So one of my other loves is Billie Eilish. I fucking adore her. I think she's incredible. And I went to go and see her live, £110 a ticket. So like,
disgusting.
Yeah. And such a juxtaposition. My two favorite artists, I guess, Billie Eilish and Metallica. I paid the same amount of money for both tickets. Both were incredible. But at the same time, it was Billie Eilish. I was like front row to the side at the O2. So I was really close. And the only reason I paid for it because I got that ticket. There was no way that I was sitting up in the gods. I was like, I'm just not paying it. It's not, I'll buy the DVD. It's fine. It's not a problem. Like, the same with Metallica got stand and everything else. But like, it's, you know, it's so mad that we have to pay so much money. And then it's hotels, trains. It doesn't just stop at a ticket price anymore. And I get bands can't tour in everyone's back garden, but at the same time, it can be a bit of a pain.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. But like, Parkway Drive, one of my favorite bands ever, but I'm not paying 50 quid to go and watch them. Like, do you know what I mean? It was £30 last time. Why is it 50 now?
Yeah,
like, it's obviously because they've obviously got the fees from elsewhere. People are greedy little fucks. That's why I envision it anyway. But I didn't get to go see Parkway Drive. They were literally at the Cardiff International Arena, and I was like, gutted that I missed it, to be honest. But I'm not paying it. No,
that's fair. I went to go and see them on this tour because Lorna Shaw, which is my other half, Rebecca's literally favourite band, and she would have broken up with me. Like, if we didn't go to that fucking gig, she would have absolutely just gone, "No, you're all right. Doesn't matter how attractive or whatever you are." That's the beginning of the podcast. I'm not just being egotistical. If Jamie's not edited the beginning of the podcast out, that would make me seem like a massive egotistical maniac.
I might cut all those bits out now. So just jigging yourself up.
But no, I totally get it because, like I say, it is a lot of aspects that people don't really see or think about when the venue's taking like 35% of merch sales, and it's like, fuck that. But you know, I think back to like, so Energy Caribbean, one of my favorite bands, that I've never paid any more than about 30 quid for a gig ticket of theirs, even if it's Ali Pally or it's like UEA in Norwich, and they just go, no, we're not doing it, you know. And even like from a comedian, so Lee Evans, when he used to tour, used to be like 25 quid a ticket because he was a man of the people and got it and was like, no, if you're paying for a night out, it doesn't just start. It starts with the gig ticket, then it's hotels, beer, food, whatever it may be, you know? So I totally get it.
I agree.
No, absolutely. I totally get it.
Massive tangent there, sorry.
It's all good. It's all good.
Let's bring it back round. Let's bring that back in. I know Jamie wants to come see because Kiss are Jamie's favorite band ever, and they're doing their final ever tour. And it's like £120 a ticket or something.
Yeah, I tried not to talk about it because I'll just get upset again.
Sorry,
I'm not happy about it at all.
So is it? And again, I don't want to rub salt into your wound, but is it part 15 of Kiss final ever tour?
Yeah, they're saying it is literally the last time they'll come here now. Like, I know everyone's taking the piss and his tour's gone on forever, but it did have a 2-year gap.
No, that's totally fair. But like there was, and again, I don't begrudge artists coming back and making music and doing what they want to do. That's completely fine. But if you're going to sell something as a final, make it the final.
Yeah,
that, like, do you know what I mean? Final has a lot of connotations. Going, this is your last chance to buy it. It's like fucking, sorry, tangent again. DFS, the final ever sale. Do you know what I mean? That's just what it sounds like. And it's just not a great look.
Compared to a sofa company.
Kiss are literally DFS and Ric Flair.
Yeah. So that's one ever. Or is it?
Or is it?
Yeah. I've retired 7 times. Have you, Rick? That's nice. You're probably back in about a year or two when you're 85 and trying to, you know, fucking ridiculous. It's just, I don't get it. Just stop. You're too old. Literally. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely bang on. Anyway, let's revert back. Let's actually get back round and poor Jamie that about Kiss. Where did so I know you mentioned Kerrang and you mentioned Metal Hammer, and you said that's what you want to do, but like, what made you want to start a podcast off? Matt, why did you go, do you know what, actually, let's put this into practice. I actually want to start talking to these people.
So the podcast kind of has got 3 phases, so to speak. So the first phase, which wasn't really a phase to begin with, is basically me and my friend Reese, who was a subscriber to my YouTube channel. So I done YouTube for about 5-6 years, like going to download Reading, wherever, vlogging the experience, everything else. And he was a subscriber to that. Lockdown kind of happened, and I jumped on the Twitch train like everybody did, and was like, okay, I'll just like do some gaming and stuff while we sort of all got this loads of free time on our hands. And we are massively both into football. He's a Swansea football supporter. And I said, it'll be fun. Like, we can just chat on Twitch about music while doing FIFA, basically. That was what we kind of did. Who do I support? I don't, which is a really bad cop-out. I have to say I support Ipswich because it's my dad. And again, he will disown me if I don't say that. But again, I'm more of a fan of just the beautiful game, as it were. Which gets me out of a lot of trouble normally. But yeah, so we kind of were just bonding and stuff over that. And people were like, yeah, the chat's great, but FIFA's shit. Fuck this off and just do a podcast. And it was like, oh, okay, let's do that then. And we just chatted about music and whatever else. Brought on a friend of ours, Andy, and we became like a trio, because I always think trios work quite well. And we just done like 60 episodes like that. Reese and Andy moved away from the podcast. Andy went to university. Reese has got now, I think he's married to his other half and like got a lot of life stuff going on. So it kind of left me on my own. And I was like, oh, well, this is a bit shit. Like I like doing this, but I've got no one to talk to. So I just reached out to a couple of musician friends who I'd sort of met through various means. And Facebook's been like a great tool just for adding people and networking. So I went to the Download pilot event, and I'm a big fan of the band Conjurer. And the bass player of Conjurer, Connor, who was going to love the fact he got a shout out, because I fucking always mention him. He's such a nice guy. He was doing a bass sound check before their set. And I was on the barrier wearing a Conjurer merch. And we sort of like locked eyes at each other. And he kind of, I describe it as being rabbit caught in the headlights. Kind of was like, big fucking stage, big load of people, shit. And I was like, you good, mate? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, that was all that was said. He there was on Twitch doing bass stream stuff. And I was like, do you fancy coming on this podcast, coming on for a chat? And that's literally how it started. And then from that, we got Sammy from Employed to Serve that went to Serena from Svalbard. And then the rabbit hole just goes from there, really. And I thought I could actually kind of make it do this as a thing. So
it's like getting a tattoo and then you want another one. And then you want another one. Yeah, that's literally what podcast is. What this is like. Me and Jamie interviewed him. We go, oh, is there anybody else? Is there anyone else right now?
Yeah. So I don't know whether you guys have the similar feeling, but I think I've pinpointed in the last year, I love the chase. I love chasing PR companies, which sounds like a mental thing to say out loud, but I love back and forthing and then securing a date and then doing it and then coming off the Zoom call and going, fuck yeah, that was a good chat. Yeah. And it's like, once it's done, it's like, I didn't really think about it. Like, I've literally released one today that went out, that we recorded end of, like, middle of December. And I've not thought about it. I'd done the intro there and then, so I had to listen back to it. I was like, what did I say in the intro? And I was like, oh, yeah. So I'm, like, having to preempt everything that may or may not happened. So, like, I can't really, like, it's a difficult thing, but, like, it's fun at the same time. But, yeah, it's good. I love it.
I like that.
Good.
But obviously, you said earlier on how you reading Kerrang and Metal Hammer and wants to get into music journalism. Mm-hmm. Was the podcast your first step into doing that, or did you try anything else beforehand?
So, as I say, the YouTube channel was basically me just kind of vlogging my experience and saying, hey, I'm a download or whatever else. Me just basically getting drunk and being a bit of a nuisance, to be honest. Much like a lot of the YouTubers at festivals do. But again, I kind of pepper in there, like I do an album review, which is basically me just going, this album's cool. This is what I like. I realize I'm not very good at doing album reviews. This is why I don't do them on the podcast generally, because it's like I don't feel like I've got the tools to kind of do it. But at the same time, I want to give a shout out to a band I like, whether that be Slipknot, or whether that be the newest underground metal band that I've just found on Spotify. So I kind of like took that and was like, well, actually I could just chat about, music. So I'm kind of developed a little bit of a following over there. So I guess it kind of is, but it isn't, if that makes sense. People kind of watched and listened to my opinions, but in terms of actually like sitting down as a quote unquote journalist, which I always do on the podcasts, I say to the guests and things, I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm not a journalist. I'm just a man who's a fan of your band. And they're like, either goes one of two ways. They either go, why am I sat here? Or they go, oh, cool, amazing. And I'm like, it's cool. Like, do you know what I mean? So
I agree with that. I always like to point out when I'm a fan of someone's band.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they like to talk to someone that actually knows what the fuck they're going on about.
Absolutely. And so I had Liam from Counterbats, who is literally the most high octane person I've ever spoken to. Like it was like fucking 10 o'clock in the morning there in Canada. And I was like, we're going to Canada and da da da. And it's the first international one I've ever done. And I'm going to sit back for the mic because I'm going to do an impression of him. And he's like, I'm the first one. And I was like, fucking hell, dude. Like, dude's got mad energy. But yeah, and it was kind of like, yeah, just because I've got mad love for those bands. It's like, so tell me about that tour you done in 2009 when you done X, Y, and Z venue that you've probably not thought about since you performed those dates. And he's like, I forgot I even done them. And I'm like, I didn't, because I was there. Like, and I can like relate it back. And they're like, oh, that's fucking wicked. So no, I totally get where you're coming from as well. Like saying you actually give a shit, which is nice,
It's very true. I've got to ask, I feel like I might know the answer to this because I'm guessing and my brain's racking. But where does the name Nevermind Polly come from?
Okay, so the Nevermind Polly Pod. So my YouTube channel was called Nevermind Matt, which is a self-deprecating pun in itself because it's just, oh, never mind, Matt. That's right. You didn't quite make it to be a YouTube star. Never mind. But it's such a shit joke. But also, when I started the YouTube channel, I needed a name for the channel. But back in my parents' house, I had a wall of CDs behind my computer monitors. And at eye level was Nevermind by Nirvana. And I just went, oh, never mind, Matt. Never mind, Matt. That works. And then it just stuck. So then when me and Reese were thinking of a name, it was like, and we kind of bounced around a lot of names. And I said, I want to like try to include the Nevermind thing somewhere in there because it kind of like links the two things together. And then we're like, well, let's look at the album Nevermind. So I was like, Polly. Nevermind Polly. It's so shit it almost works. And then it just stuck. Like, so my first ever love of a band was Green Day, right? But Green Day don't have a good name. That is not a good name for a band. Do you know what I mean? But like, it just becomes a thing. And it's just, they're called Green Day. And it's like, you don't really think about it until you go, that's a shit name for a band. So yeah.
Talking to someone whose favorite band's name is Kiss. I get it.
Yeah. But when you go Kiss, you know exactly who you're talking about. So it's just like, yeah, it kind of works.
Exactly. I was right though. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does Polly mind, or are we to, so that you actually took the joke right out of my book here, Matt? So I was like, are you sure Polly doesn't mind, or are we meant to never mind her? Is she quite angry about it, or
what the that's very, I've never heard that. That's good. I like that. I do like that. That's good. So what we failed to kind of realize as well is the song Polly by Nirvana is actually quite a deep, quite nasty, quite horrible song when you look at the lyrics. And we're like, and we've never been questioned on it, and we haven't been since, but we always kind of had at the back of our mind gone, by the way, we don't endorse anything about that song and the lyrical content of that song either. But again, we were like really thinking too far into it. But yeah, it was that's kind of how it happened, I guess.
It's great. It's a great name though.
It will do. It's stuck. It's not changing. So.
But you've had some absolutely mental people on your show. I was having a little gander through early. Obviously, very similar to some of the people we've had as well, like Lena Scissorhands, James Threadwell from She Must Bird, and the Defects Boys, etc. But like you've had Darren from Funeral for a Friend. Like that is killer. I fucking love that first album. Like Casual Justin Deep Conversation is one of the greatest albums I think I've ever heard in my life. And that band, again, they play. We had this guy randomly out of nowhere for like 2 or 3 shows. Book out the Two Pigs in Cheltenham, which is a tiny, tiny little underground venue, and they had Funeral for a Friend play there and Buried Tomorrow. Amazing. And they were going to have the Red Juice Apparatus. It's just like, but then it all the money disappeared. I don't know what happened. It was a bit weird, but it was great. So for that time being, how do you acquire these absolute stellar fucking guests? And talk slowly so I can write it down.
No, honestly, if anyone is wanting to do a podcast or anything like that, my biggest bit of advice is just ask. And I believe I'm quite a big believer in the 6 degrees of separation theory, that we are all connected by 6 people, or at least I'm connected to Darren from Funeral for a Friend via 6 people or less. So with that logic, and Facebook basically for a lot of it was kind of like, oh, you're friends with such and such, add as a friend, send them a message. Would you want to come on the podcast? 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, sure, no worries. And it just happened organically like that. And I think that was pretty key to the fact that COVID was a thing and the lockdown was a thing. And a lot of people had a lot of free time. And Zoom was actively probably the biggest platform ever at that time. So it's like, do you fancy just having a natter? Because we haven't been able to do anything. So do you fancy just having a natter? And that's kind of how that happened. And then getting some of them have been through the PR companies, and a lot of them have been more so than that. But again, even now that I do just send out random DMs. So we got Ash from Holding Absence, the drummer of Holding Absence. And again, I just shot him an Instagram DM and he was like, yeah, sure, man. When works for you? And I'm like, amazing. So
great band.
Excuse me. It's just a case of sometimes just shooting your message and just hoping for the best. So sometimes it pays off. But what I will say is you boys, I don't know how you managed to do it. So again, I don't like to be in competition with anyone because there's enough space for everybody. But I went after Wednesday 13. You absolute motherfuckers. When I saw it, I got not declined, but I was like, Wednesday's not doing interviews at the moment for whatever reason. And once I get told no once, I generally just leave it. I'm like, yep, cool, no worries. We'll do something soon. And then I get like a notification like a week later, the Chronicles of Podcast is interviewing Wednesday 13. And I was like, absolute motherfuckers. So please do tell me how you managed it.
I mean, if you watch that interview, just see, I just had to take a step back because I'll let Jamie crack on because he is in his fucking element in that entire thing.
I was a very giddy boy that episode. Really was. But that take ages to peg down a date for Wednesday.
Yeah.
It took us a long time. So that's probably why, because it was a long time in the working.
To be honest, I think it might have just been because our artists and stuff work on such a tight schedule with PR and they don't release, they'll only be doing press for like 2 weeks or something stupid. And if you don't get it within that 2 week time frame, so I totally get it. Maybe I just shot my email too early, but I was just kind of one of those things. I was like, you absolute bastards. But that being said, you've done it for like 2.5 hours. So you've done it justice more than what I would have done with my little half an hour stint of whatever I did. Do you know what I mean? So I love it. It was really cool.
I could have gone so much longer. I had to reel myself in big time. I just like, tell me all about that Gunfire 76 album. I love that. When are you doing another one? Come on, tell me.
Yeah. Amazing.
So you were saying before, like phase 1 of the podcast was you and Reese and Andy?
Andy, yeah.
Yes, a memory. But
sorry.
Just like chatting the shit. But can you remember what that first episode you did was about?
Oh, I can't. I'll tell you what I can do. I can, but I can't. So let me just go onto Spotify and I will try and find out if it says anything on the notes. Because I think it was just a case of we were just chatting just about music. We kind of wanted it to kind of be a little bit like a Kerrang magazine, but in the form of a podcast. So like you'd have the news section, you'd have like little tidbitty bits, and then it'd be like we'd then have like a main topic we'd talk about on that podcast. So like on one of the early podcasts we did, I just posed a question and I said, is social media bad? And we did a whole podcast about it. And we kind of argued the for and against and everything else. But again, it would be like, we were really quite ambitious to begin with. Like, we done 5 episodes on what we called the World Cup of Rock. And we got like 70 odd bands and we pitched them against each other based on like their critical standing, their albums, their sales. And like, we narrowed it down to like this one band that was meant to be the best band in rock. And I think it was a toss up between like Pink Floyd, Queen, and someone else. I can't remember. But anyway, like we were like, that was like episode like 5 and 6. So like we were quite ambitious to begin with. So I mean, in terms of the first episode, let me just scroll. Never mind. We discuss what it's like to be a music fan in 2020 and so much more. So there you go. But I remember being super nervous, but weirdly not, because it was just, we didn't expect anyone to listen to it. We had no idea what we were doing for the most part. But then like within a month, 2 months, we had like listeners from like America and like, you know, I don't want to say the obvious places, but like Europe and like Australia. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Like, you know, I expected to get a little bit of reach. But when you got people like in Puerto Rico listening to me and a guy from Wales chat some shit about music, I'm like, who the fuck is listening to that in Puerto Rico? Or in like fucking Brazil, I'm like, who the fuck is listening to this in Brazil? Like, mental. And again, like when you've got a big guest on, it kind of, the legwork is kind of done itself because ex-guest is on the podcast. But when it's just 2 friends just talking about something completely random, it's pretty mad how it kind of branched out that way.
I love it. When was the last time you listened to that first ever episode?
I want to say it was quite recently. And that was only because I kind of wanted to go on a bit of a nostalgia trip. I don't tend to listen back to my own stuff. I listen back to the ones that me, Reese, and Andy did because I want to hear what the hell I said. And if I'm going to get cancelled, if I ever get big enough to be cancelled, which I'm pretty certain I will be at some point, because I've said we done a drunk cast, which in hindsight was the fucking worst idea anyone had ever said. Let's spend 3 guys getting drunk on Zoom and spend 4 hours talking to each other and getting progressively more drunk. Not a good idea. Not a good. And you know what? I actually in a podcast really recently said, "Oh yeah, you should go back and listen to that." Why did I send people to go back and listen to that? Absolute travesty. I have no idea.
But, jump onto Podbean like delete it.
Yeah, honestly. But I want to say I stand by everything I said, but don't know what I did say. So maybe I don't.
So where did the premise of the show come from then? Why? I know you don't interview people all the time. You do like Bloodstock review, download review. You know, here's this album or this band are on tour or whatever. But like, why when interviewing guests are you only? Because obviously we do ours for over an hour or so interview wise, and we have the show extra on the either side. But obviously yours is here's the intro. It's who I'm talking to. Boom, half an hour, bosh, done.
So that for that reason is because it kind of fell naturally that way. So some PR companies will say you have got 30 minutes, and I'm like, cool, I can run for 30 minutes. Excuse me. And then sometimes I kind of podcasts are great for the long form, which you guys do brilliantly. But also, it doesn't. No, but it doesn't have to be long form either. That's kind of the thing. Yeah. It can be as long or as short as it needs to be. There is, in my opinion, no point in me sat down with someone in a band and me just waffle or talk at them. If they're receptive and they talk to me and kind of understand what a podcast is, because I've had a few of them where like I'm having a chat and they're just like, "Okay, you're going to ask some questions in a minute," and I'm like, yeah, it's like a conversation. Like I said this at the beginning, and they're like, all right, cool. And I'm like, oh God, like, do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think if they understand that it's kind of conversational. I always make the point of saying it's a conversation. I'm not a journalist, and I'm not trying to catch you out. I'm not trying to get you, because that's the thing. Like, people can be so media trained. They can be like, so I got a question on my Instagram the other day. I did like a Q&A on them. They said, I guess you'd love to have, right? Now, the obvious answer I firstly jumped to was like, Corey Taylor from Slipknot would be amazing, because the numbers that man could pull in would be incredible. But there is not a question that man has not been asked. So like, from a podcasty / interviewer type of point of view, I'm like, I don't know what I'd say to him, because he's so trained in the way to talk about a record, and that's just because he's been in the game for as long as he has, you know? So when I try and have someone on, it's like, I'm not trying to catch you out. Just let me just have a chat with you like a human being, you know? And anything you want me to edit out, it's not going out live either. So anything that we don't want in there, I could just edit out. It's not a problem. Like, I had one particular artist on who was on the same record label as a quite prominent up-and-coming band who I'm not going to mention, only because it will trigger somebody and they'll be like, who is he talking about? But this particular band were on a lot of festival bills over the last couple of summers, and they hadn't had a record out, and it was like, something smells a little fishy here. And me and this artist were just talking about it, just quite freely. And they went a bit further than what I just did and was like, yeah, they're fucking shit. They don't deserve to be. They're only there because of daddy's money and all the rest of it. Like, went in. But again, it was nice and refreshing that someone felt comfortable enough to be like, no, actually, fuck this band, you know? And it was the text I got after was like, Matt, great interview, mate, but can we delete that whole bit about X-Band? And I was like, I really... He's like, yeah, I totally get it. he's like, the PR would fucking kill me. And I was like, all right, fair enough.
I love that. We're lucky we've only had that a couple of times. Like, if someone said, can you take stuff out? I remember one guy who was like, can you take that stuff out? And then about immediately later, he was like, don't worry about it. Fuck it. No one's going to.
So I don't want to take over the podcast, but I want to ask you guys, just from a podcast point of view, have you ever had someone who's particularly awkward? Have you ever had a podcast where it's like, you don't have to say names, but like where you've started it and gone, why did we do this? Why did we start this conversation? And you start backtracking in your head, because I've got one in my head that I'm happy to talk about, where you start backtracking, you're like, oh, fuck. Why did I do this?
I can literally think of one, and it was so early in our career, it really doesn't matter anymore.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But we're not saying that because we're not trying to shit on anybody. I genuinely can't think of anybody.
Fair. So I had, and this isn't throwing shade at this individual, to be fair. So I had Sean from the metal band Violence, who I love Violence. They're a great fucking band. And he came out in the press and everything else as being an anti-vaxxer. This is basically like mid-COVID, right? And he came on and we were like, we're here to talk about the EP, blah, 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 blah. And his whole rhetoric was COVID, right? Now, to my kind of joy, I guess, for some reason, my microphone didn't work. And I only recorded my audio. So I was having a conversation with myself. So I would talk, and then there'd be a gap of about 2 minutes, and there'd be me talking again, which was kind of a blessing, because the whole thing was just him going, yeah, COVID's not fucking real. Yeah, COVID's like a load of shit. It's all a government conspiracy, right? And I'm like, yeah, so Phil from Machine Head's back in the band. That's really cool. And like, he's like, yeah, COVID. I'm like, fucking hell. Like, I was just backtracking in my head going, why have I done this? But it's kind of funny because the PR guy, Andy from Metal Blade Records, is lovely. He said, do you want to retry? And I'm like, I just don't. I'm really sorry. Like, I was like, he's a bit of a nightmare. And he's like, all right, fair play.
At least you're honest with him. Fair play.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. But, yeah, it's all good.
I think we also have to tread carefully with who we speak to, just because of these guys. So
no, absolutely. Yeah, no, of course. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's why I don't think we ever have to tread that water, because if there's anything bad about them, we can't touch them. So it's
no, of course, absolutely, yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I think that's the thing as well with what you guys do, with having the Sophie guys on board and Staycos and everything else as well, is you've kind of almost protected yourself. You've always made like a little barrier to stop yourself from getting into situations that I find myself in, where I'm like, I'm just one man. And like, so I got sent an album promo from a fairly, I'm not going to mention his name because I will get a bit of shit for it, but a fairly famous black metal drummer who has famously gone to prison for murdering a man in his 20s way back in the day. This is in the 90s. Went to prison, done his time for murder, da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, he's now back in the public light doing his thing. Hey, Matt, do you want to come talk to... I was like, I do not want to touch that with a 50-foot barge pole. The man was literally convicted of murdering a gay man under hate crime. Like, I am not touching that with a 50-foot... Like, you know, I like black metal like the next person, but I am not fucking touching it.
No, I can't say I blame you, to be honest. No, not at all. But we were just talking about some of the, you know, the guests you've had on, like incredible guests, as Tom said. Are there any particular standout guests for you, for whatever reason that might be?
So I always give the episode I done with Mike Mallion from Monuments, the drummer of Monuments, a shout out, because I asked him a question. I said, look, I think the question was something on the lines of, what does like drumming mean to you? And there was something really generic and really basic. And he went on this like monologue for about 8 minutes about why music was important to him. And it fucking floored me. And I'm a man of very many words. I'm very rarely lost for words. I was like, right. Fuck, I'm going to have to go do a podcast now with you have this conversation. I was genuinely like just floored. It was like, oh shit, that was really, really like mad. So in terms of guests, CJ from Night is Murder was really, really cool because he's just an absolute dude. Trying to think. Sage Francis, the independent hip hop rapper, was probably the one that really hit home the most. So he made a record in 2014 called Copper Gone, and I've got lyrics tattooed all down my leg. I've got artwork of his stuff in my house. He's literally like an icon to me. And that's probably one of my favorite albums of all time. And again, I just shot him an email and I was like, hey, do you fancy coming on for a chat? And he was like, sure. So when I got on the Zoom call, it was the most nervous I've ever been. And I went, oh, please welcome to the show, Sage Francis. He went, hello, Matt Bacon. And I literally just nearly lost it there and then. I was like, no, logging off. See you later. F4, I'm out. I can't do this. Like, and yeah, it was just really good chat. But yeah, it's really, really cool. It's just nice to kind of, I like to break down the fact that these people are just people. That's what I try and do with it. And people put them on pedestals, rightfully or wrongfully. And I'm like, just take them down off that pedestal and say, come have a chat. Just come have a chat with me. And that's what I try and do, at least.
Don't you think those are the best moments, though, when you say about the drummer from Monuments, and you just like the moments where it's almost like you're etching into history, aren't you? You go, this is the conversation. It's like a big diary. I love those moments where you just sat there and you just go, oh, you know, so why do you love this so much? And then they go blur for 15 minutes. You go, yeah, fuck, that's amazing. I love those moments though, because it just makes you go like, I can't believe I get to do this. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It kind of somewhat validates all the late night editing, and that's the thing. It's never just the podcast. It's the Instagram posts. It's the editing of those. It's the making of those. It's the emailing back and forth. It's the trying to communicate and make pathways to different people. It makes all of that worthwhile and it's a bit like, I liken it to what it must feel like to be in a band. All of the shit you have to deal with being in a band, loading in, like merch sales, all of that crap is worth it for that half an hour, that hour on stage, whatever it may be. So I totally respect the grind that other podcasts and creative people do, because it's fucking hard work.
And at least you're one man.
At least you've got each other. I was about to say, I have Rebecca, my other half, who I literally I send like the artwork to. I'm like, does this look okay? And she's like, it looks lovely. I'm like, thanks. Okay, I'll go back to my hovel now and just try and figure this out. And I spoke to her today. I was like, have you listened to the new episode yet? And she's like, no, not yet. And I was like, why not? It's really good. And she's like, I know. She's like, but it's an hour long though, Matt. And I was like, yeah, it's the only hour long one I've done in ages. Leave me alone.
Jesus Christ, you'd hate our show then. Fuck.
No. But that's the thing. Again, it was just I sat down with Adam he prefers to be called Woody. Woody from Polar, and we just got on really well. And we just chatted. It was the night that England had went out of the World Cup as well. So we had about 10 minutes of preamble about the fact that England had gone out from the World Cup. But yeah, it's all good. So I love it. What were you scoffing, Tom?
Giggling.
Oh, is it Scotland? I wonder what. To be honest, I thought you just got like a load of raisins and just like shoved them in your mouth while I was. I don't know what happened there.
That's exactly what I was doing. No, unfortunately, I'm a Scotsman with an English accent living in Wales. I just need some Irish in me. I'm sorted. I've completely tried. I'll be like some sort of UK Megazord. So what? Oh, shut up, Siri. So what exactly?
Siri's getting involved now.
So obviously everyone's got their part. We did a Christmas. Oh, you enjoyed that, didn't you?
Sorry.
I can't take the whole credit because Mike Tomlin, the Steelers head coach, used it as a. I'll tell you about it later. Anyway, so I've stolen it basically off the head coach of the Steelers. Everyone's got their New Year's resolutions. So we did a Christmas special, we did a New Year special just to like rein in the end of the year. And obviously you kind of want to progress the show and take that next level. So for you, what is, obviously don't give the whole game plan away because we might be like, yeah. But like, what is where do you see the show going for 2023? What's the next step for you? What do you want to achieve?
So the next step, so there's two kind of answers to it. So my main, like if someone was to change the question slightly to kind of bring it on to the main point is, what is the intention for the show? When I started, the intention of the show is to get free gig tickets and meet bands. Simple as that. Because gig tickets are expensive. I like going to shows. Meeting bands is cool. Like, simple as that. And I managed to achieve that with Bloodstock and Arctangent this year. Went to Arctangent as guests, thanks to Adam from Bloodstock, who you've had on before. Adam is lovely. We love Adam. And
we do.
Arctangent was through press and everything else. And it was just kind of one of those things. So next year is kind of stop worrying about the numbers, because I'm such an obsessive over numbers and analytics, and I shouldn't be. Because if someone took it away from me tomorrow and go, you can't do this anymore, I'm like, that was cool. That was a cool couple of years where I was doing this thing. And my life would still carry on, because it's not like I do it literally as a side hobby as opposed to like an actual job. So I kind of don't worry about the analytics and stuff because I don't have to, so to speak. Try and just enjoy it as much as I can when I'm in it. And just keep doing what I'm doing without sounding cliche, and just keep trying to push and be the best version of what I can be, both in terms of like an interviewer, a podcaster, but also having the best equipment I can afford. You know, I mean, this microphone cost me like 90 quid and it's fucking class. Like you get like the is it the SB7 like £300 ones that all the podcasters have. I'm like, I don't need it. This one's like 90 quid and it's fucking amazing. Do you know what I mean? But like,
yeah,
if it was a case of I could have the really expensive nice thing and I could have the really expensive webcam to up the production quality, then amazing. But I don't need to, because the content, as long as the content is good, everything else will kind of fall into place, or so it should in kind of real times. Because as we all know, we all have that one band who are amazing, but only 12 people listen to on Spotify, and it's a fucking travesty. And it's like, why is this band not massive? And I feel like that sometimes about the podcast. I'm like, why is this podcast not massive? And it's like, oh yeah, it's because it's literally just me doing it on my own. Like,
it's not only that though, the content, the quality, everything is there. Our problem as podcasters is there is 650 million bazillion podcasts because it's almost free to do, and anyone can do it. All you need is something to record on a mouth. You can do it on an iPhone, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
you know, that's why it's so hard to stand out, and it is an absolute nightmare. I will sit there sometimes and I'll be like, I've edited this, I've stuck it all together, I've done all the artwork, I've promoted the balls out of it, and it's got 4 views. Are you fucking kidding me?
and that's the thing as well. Like, you've got to be very careful not to become cynical and not to fall into that trap. Because and I'm not going to mention names, but I have a friend who does a podcast, and he's falling into that trap very hard. And as a friend, not only as a content creator myself, it's like, mate, you can't go on your podcast account and say, why is no one listening to my podcast? And it's like, it's like, it's social suicide. Don't do it. Like, you can't, just like, keep that stuff for a burner Twitter account that no one knows who you are, and just tweet that into the ether. You know what I mean? But like, don't you know what I mean? So it's hard to sometimes keep the motivation, but when it goes well and when everything goes swimmingly and you have just great conversations with people and just enjoy what you're doing, that's the main thing. And if I always maintained, when it was the YouTube, whether it was the podcast or anything like that, it's if at least one person gives a shit, then I'll continue to do it because I love doing it. And if no one, when people stop listening, I'll probably just stop, and I'll probably just go, it's all right, cool, no worry. I mean, I won't, because I'm too driven, I'm too far into it now, where I'm like, I ain't going to give this up. You know what I mean? So, but you get my point.
I absolutely agree. I stopped looking at numbers. I just like, do you know what? I do this because I get to hang out with my best friend. We get to talk to incredible people. We make incredible memories. And it's fucking awesome. And it's one of the best thing I've ever done in my life. So I don't give a shit if people listen to it. I love this shit.
Absolutely. And that's the thing as well. Not to sit and just stroke each other's egos, but you've had some mad guests on the podcast. And you guys have such an array of different people as well, which makes it always like really refreshing, because I totally get it if someone like with my podcast will tune in for like 1 or 2 episodes and then tune out for the rest of the year because they don't like, I try and keep it so it's like we'll have a pop punk band, we'll have like a rock band, we'll have a death metal band, as opposed to just all being one type of genre or whatever. But again, it's not how the nature of the business works, because, I'm very much at the mercy of when bands release records, when they're available, everything else, doing it, quote unquote, like the professional press way, and saying, X band is doing press now, do you want to jump on it? Yeah, cool. And if it happens to fall that way, whereas you guys can kind of go, we want an actor this week, you'll go after an actor. And I know that's not how podcasts work, but how it perceives when you look at it on Spotify, it's like, you've had an actor, you've had this, you've had that, and it's like, cool. It's just different conversations, and it makes it interesting,
Oh, thanks, man.
No, it's like genuine. Like, sorry, just to stroke each other's egos, but like, you know what I mean?
It's all good. It's like, I mean, you should wait to see what we've got. January and February already full, and it's just
really amazing. Nice.
Yeah, it's a little bit delicious. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, sorry, I know we're sucking each other's dicks here, but we'll just there we go. Take it out.
I mean, I went with stroking egos, you went with sucking dick. I'm all for it. It's all good.
Tuck it back in your sock, Matt.
Yeah, tuck it back in the sock, literally.
I feel, were you interviewing in the press at Bloodstock?
I wasn't. So I was guesting at Bloodstock. So we just, me, my other half, Rebecca, and my best friend, also called Becca, but Rebecca technically, which makes life very confusing. Don't get the two mixed up, for God's sake.
That'd be concerning, wouldn't it?
One is very northern, being my other half, and the other one is not. So it makes life a little easier. She's going to hate me saying that. No, so we went purely as just kind of friends of the podcast, guests kind of thing, which was very nice. But we didn't end up doing any press things. I know you guys did, which is really cool. So, but yeah,
I just thought I saw you. That was all. I
was in the VIP area, but I wasn't like in the press tent bit, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
I know they
we were interviewed in the Serpent's Lair.
Yes, the Serpent's Lair. I love the Serpent's Lair. It's good.
It is great.
Really nice.
Did you get press for Arc? Sorry, I'm just really interested.
No, it's cool.
You got press for Arctangent, did you?
Yes, yeah. So the press for Arctangent was super cool. But you know what? I will say this much, and I'm not saying this to be ungrateful. I totally understand that people pay for gig tickets and festival tickets. So me, for what I'm about to say, may come across as going, well, fuck, he's arrogant. It's not. I loved Arctangent as a festival. I thought it was fantastic, but I spent literally about 90% of it in the press area and didn't get to see hardly any bands or anything else, which made it for a good festival in terms of the podcast, but generally it's a lot of waiting around. And they had like Wi-Fi, but apart from that, there was no other phone signal. So I was literally in a field in Bristol, cut off from literally everybody for like fucking 4 days, with the very exception of this one Wi-Fi system that was in the press like area that was basically terrible, but was enough to get emails across. And again, a lot of it was already pre-booked and pre-sorted. But again, getting someone to turn up at the right time when you've emailed them 2 weeks ago can be a bit frustrating when they don't turn up. I think I had like 10 interviews across the 3 days, and 3 of them didn't turn up. So I was just sat there. And again, I'm quite I try and be on time. I try and be like attentive. So I'm there 10 minutes before I'm meant to be. I then wait half an hour after I'm meant to have been there, and still no one's shown. I'm like, okay, cool, no worries. And then I just like wander back up to the field. Like, so it was cool. It was really cool. So, but there was a few things I was just a bit like, this sucks. But again, you ever say that on social media when you're at a festival going, oh, stuck in the press tent, what a shame, what a horrible existence I must have. No. Like, people, like, literally, I got a close friend going, fucking shut up, you tit, you absolute tit, just shut up. And I'm like, sorry. Like, but I did have a couple of mad experiences. Not that I interviewed them, but I'm a big fan of Jamie Lemon, and he just happened to walk into the press area and asked me for directions as to where to go to the artist check-in, because I think he thought I was working there, because I was on the phone using the Wi-Fi to talk to my other half, and he was like, excuse me, where's the artist? And I was like, that's Jamie Lemon from Reuben and shit. Oh, fucking hell. Like, and I sort of was like, oh shit. Like, so that was really cool. So
it's almost like our Daniel P. Carter story at Bloodstock, where Tom sees him ordering fucking vegan food and runs at him. He didn't run.
Did you actually run it? Amazing.
I didn't run at him. I didn't run it. I waited. I saw Danny P. Carter. I was like, holy shit. Okay, so I'm going to wait here. And then I'll just, if he walks by, I'll grab him. If he walks away, I'll go and get him. So he happened to walk towards. I was like, yes. So I said, I was like, oh, sorry, Dan, Mr. Carter. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, have you got a quick second? And he was like, well, do you want my food, do you? I was like, no. I don't want any of that vegan shit. Thank you very much. And I literally said, we're doing this, what we're doing. We're outside their tent, outside the sofa tent. So like, oh, we're working with these guys. We're doing podcasts and blah, 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 blah. I was hoping you might have a 3 minute or 10 to sit and chat with us. He was like, yeah, sure.
Amazing.
Shit.
Nice.
Okay.
That's
there
amazing.
It was great. Absolutely great. But Danny Winterbates was, because I'm a huge Bro Tomorrow fan, Danny Winterbates was when I had to go and get him from his security and his PA and stuff, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. And you know what, right? And I'm gonna preface this in the not unlikely event, but if they do listen to this, sorry, Deb, I'm gonna throw you under the bus. So Deb, from the guitar player and vocalist of Harriet, was on the Arctangent, so they played, and again, we've become quite good friends on social media and stuff. And the second we were like, oh, hugs and high fives, and everyone's, oh, you're all right. The second I pressed record, she done the biggest burp like into the mic you've ever heard. It was literally incredible. And we all just started laughing. And she was like, come on, everyone, we need to do shop. We need to play shop now. Like, we need to do band stuff. And it was so funny. And like, I was just looking at Julian, the drummer, who we've become quite good friends. And I'm just sat there holding this mic, just trying not to laugh. I'm like actively not looking at him, just going, no, don't make me laugh. Don't make me laugh. Don't laugh. We've got 10 minutes. Do not make me fucking laugh, you motherfucker. So, but yeah, no, it's really cool. And Danny P. Carter is fucking a huge get. And yeah, Bury Tomorrow are amazing. And Danny is such a great dude.
Their new album, I'm buzzing for their new album. Buzzing in March. I'm literally giddy as ever. Yeah. They're one of those bands like Deftones. They're a band that can't release anything shit. Mm-hmm. They just can't. They can't do All Day to Remember. They can't release any shit. It's just great. Everything's fun. I know a lot of people shit on the Last Day to Remember album. You're welcome.
I was about to say, I'm not sure I 100% agree with the Day to Remember statement, but we'll run with it. It's fine.
They played in London on my birthday last year now, and it was just a magnificent evening, and they were absolutely phenomenal.
That being said, I am an apologist for a lot of Machine Head's material. So, you know, I totally get it. When people go, Catharsis was shit, and I was like, it's got a couple of good songs. Leave them alone. Like Rob Flynn was clearly going through some stuff, you know, or what. And they've released a brilliant new record this year, so it's fine. Like,
everyone's always an apologist for their favorite bands. I defend Saint Anger, for fuck's sake.
That is a tough one. Although I
won't defend Lulu though. They can fuck off for that one.
I did think this would be an interesting idea for either a podcast, because the world needs more podcasts. I'm just going to throw it out there, or a YouTube series or a video is, and I come up with the title, and you can have this if you fancy it, defending the undefendable, or something to that effect, where basically you get a critically damned record and try and see if you can defend it. So I'm thinking St. Anger, Lulu, what's the Catharsis for Machine Head? There's got to be like loads of like critically like damned records that are just terrible by all the critics. I'm like, right, we're gonna link which one?
The latest one before.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you were going to say like Hybrid Theory or something. Just throw a massive curveball in there. Yeah, like you can 100% get away with like trying to do. And again, like the thing is, it's all opinions, and opinions are fine. Like that's
the one thing I hate more than anything is people that go, "Who'd you like?" Just remember, they're fucking wank. Oh, do you know what, mate? Yeah. Now you've mentioned it. Actually, I want to listen ever again. Now you've mentioned it. Yeah, that's actually a good point. Hate that shit. Sorry to interrupt. To apologize.
No, it's fine. Like, I just think it'd be an interesting concept to try and like sit down and go, well, is it actually that bad? But then I thought, actually, I have a lot of pain in my life, and I don't need extra pain of having to listen to some Anger and that snare tone and try and defend it. Like, there are some good songs on St. Anger in there somewhere, but not behind that guitar tone.
It's not a bad album. It's just a bad Metallica album. That's what
yeah. For sure.
Matt, before we start wrapping up, my friend, for those listening to this that have never heard your show and would like to, are there any particular episodes you might point them out towards? Whether it be the early ones, an interview, whatever it might.
So, oh God, I knew you were going to ask something like that, and I'm not prepared. So give me 2 seconds, because I always feel like I have like my go-to. So the Mike Manning episode is a go-to because, again, he's just such a confident speaker in what he's talking about. But let me just, because otherwise I will forget someone and I feel really guilty.
I do the same.
I feel really guilty otherwise.
People go, who had on the show? I'm like,
you literally. We had, so in November this year, we had Levi from the band Chuggaboom on. And if you're unaware of who Chuggaboom are, they are a masked outfit, very similar to like a Slipknot, a Sleep Token. Who's the new metal ones that wore the masks? Is it Mudvayne? Do they wear masks?
Mushroom
Head. Yeah, not the same style as that, but again, all masks, all the rest of it. They done a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody a few years ago, and it has to be seen to be believed. It is
Okay.
And honestly, that podcast was a fucking riot from start to finish. He came on fully masked up. I have no idea what he looks like. We just chatted, and it was just the funniest fucking thing. Honest.
Sounds like we interviewed 2 dogs when we spoke to Slay Doggy. Yes.
So that was really cool. Defects, obviously. Defects are fantastic. We love Defects.
Love those boys.
Yukovi. I hope I've said that right. Yukovi. I don't know how I say it, but yeah, they're really great. That was a really great episode. TPD, Rob Kellis, is probably the biggest one in terms of people who are like have a social following, I guess, that aren't in a metal or rock band. They do YouTube content. They had a video about they went to Coachella and it went like super duper viral. And so 6 British lads from Leeds go to Coachella and shoot Coachella for what it was really like. And they've been going to Reading and Leeds and Download for years and years and years. And we spoke for like over an hour, which is funny because I got a little bit of backlash from their followers going, "Oh, you're only doing it for clout." And I was like, what they don't realize is that we go back 5, 6, 7 years and we've got like DMs back and forth, like supporting each other on the channel and everything else. So I'm like, it's all good. It's all right. No need to get like all hateful. But yeah, so yeah, any of those. But basically, I just chat loads of shit with your favorite metal bands and rock bands. That's my new tagline. I'm rolling with.
Like that. Put that on a business card. I don't know why I said Disney. What if I have to say Disney? I don't know.
Just chatting the shit, chatting the waffle.
Chatting the waffle. I love it. Mr. Stevens, do you have any more questions for our glorious guest?
I do have one final question for Mr. Bacon here. I'm pretty sure he was a Blue Peter presenter, wasn't he? Matt Bacon?
Matt Baker.
It's Matt Bacon as well. Richard Bacon. I'm thinking of Richard Bacon.
So I've got a tidbit for this. Richard Bacon is actually my brother's name, but it's not the Blue Peter presenter who got famously done for doing cocaine or something, didn't he?
Yeah.
He got kicked off the show. So that's funny. Also, not a relation to Jim Bacon, the old weatherman on BBC in East Anglia. Not him either. But the funny thing is, you mentioned Blue Peter. I've actually been on Blue Peter 5 times as a child. So that's a random little tidbit for you weren't expecting.
Okay, well, I was thinking we need to wrap up. I've got to go to work. You need to elaborate, mate.
So way back in the day when I was in primary school, the Christmas episode of Blue Peter that used to go out on the BBC, like BBC One, whatever it was, at like 4:00, they selected 4 primary schools to come in and do a kids' choir. And for some unknown reason, my tiny like primary school in Suffolk, which I won't mention the name of because I'm pretty certain it's probably a security password for something. So I won't mention it on a podcast. Anyway, we were part of one of the 4 schools that used to go in and sing either Come All Ye Faithful, I think the carol is.
Yeah.
Or there was another one that escapes me. And they used to alternate each year. And I went on for 4 years in a row while I was in primary school. And I went to middle school. And this is how much of a goody two-shoes I was at school. I got invited back for a 5th time by the headmaster because there was a spare seat for me and my friend on the bus up to London. And I remember being really disappointed because we had to walk up this massive hill into television studios, and a certain group of like individuals on like the sides of this parade of about 100 kids carried lanterns. I really wanted to carry a lantern, and 5 years I never carried a lantern into the studio, and I was gutted. But I do have 5 Blue Peter badges somewhere at my parents' house and signed autographs from all like Connie Huck and Matt Baker, and what was the guy? Simon Thomas. Simon Thomas. There we go.
What a legend he is.
Blue Peter knowledge.
Who's the other one? Matt Baker, Simon Thomas.
Is that Katie?
Connie Huck. Was it a Zoe? Was her name Zoe? This is so uninteresting for your podcast. I do apologize. I'm trying to remember like circa 2000s Blue Peter presenters. But anyway, yeah, it was really cool. What was the question again, Tom?
Yeah. So, just to wrap up, basically, it's like, did you ever, when you first started podcasting and doing your stuff and everything, did you ever think that you'd be sat here chatting to like guys from Holding Absence for Covey and that's those sort of artists?
No, not at all. And I am forever living out my teenage fantasy and dream doing this podcast. And I always joke, and I hope it will remain a joke, that one day I'm going to get a tap on the shoulder and gone, sorry, who the fuck are you? And what the fuck are you doing here? I was convinced that was going to happen at Bloodstock and Arctangent and gone, sorry, you've got the wrong wristband on. You shouldn't actually have this on. And just like get up, come with a pair of scissors and just cut it off. But like it is just a case of, it's really, really good fun. And I'm so grateful for everybody who has supported, listened, anything like that. And just the people behind the scenes whose literally their job is to be PR people, but who respond to my emails. Like shout out Jasmine, who I know you guys for acquaint with. We love Jasmine.
Legend.
Absolute legend. Andy from Metal Blade Records, Monet from All Noir. So many people who just give me the time of day. And I'm just some sort of fucking chancer. Like when you get people who are actively like in, Metal Hammer, Kerrang, bloody Roxanne, enter big publication, both online, print, wherever, here, and they're gone, we want to talk to your band. And then I get me, a one-man band, and he goes, can I have half an hour with them, please? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I just do what I do, basically, and just chat shit to them.
It fucking works, so keep doing it, my friend. Keep on doing it. Absolutely love it. Before we let you get out of here, Matt, do you have any plugs, social medias, anything you want people to go and check you out on?
If people want to check out the podcast, Nevermind Polly Podcast, pretty much everywhere. Or if it's easier, which I don't think it would be, but link.tree, where it is /Nevermind Polly. Pretty much it, really. I want to say thank you to you boys for having me on. It's been a fucking blast, and your guys are fucking killing it. And I'm forever envious because I've backed myself into a corner where I can only talk to rock and metal bands, which, by the way, I love. I'm not slating. I love it. But, you've got like a really cool actor on or whatever it may be. And I'm like, I wish I could do that. Fuck's sake. Otherwise, it's just going to look really strange if I just start getting...
Side project.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I've been thinking about it. It was like, you know what? I could just throw caution to the wind and just do whatever, because if people still turn up, then it's a good thing. That's what I reckon.
Your show, Matt. Do what the fuck you like. Love it.
Absolutely.
No, but thank you for coming on, Matt. It means the absolute world. Everyone go and check out the Nevermind Polly podcast. I said he's had some incredible guests and some you've heard on our show, so definitely go and check all them out.
Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.
What a fantastic interview. And Mr. Stevens, I must say, the fact you managed to say Matthew Bacon of the Nevermind Polly podcast in those syllables for your intro, I tip my hat if I was wearing one. So you made that work quite beautifully.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you massively. I just felt it necessary to call him by his full name. I don't know why. So there we are. What a great interview. It's a bit mental. It's a bit crazy. Dicks are thrown around. But it's all in jest. It's all in good favor. I don't know if that's the right word to use. But obviously, all views are their own.
Absolutely, but no, definitely everyone go check out Matt's show. Matt is doing incredible work. Spoke to incredible guests. It's amazing just to see our friends living out their dreams and doing what they wanted to do in life and taking matters into their own hands. It's very commendable, and we love it.
We do, and now we need to get Funa for a Friend and Holding Absence, or at least members of them, so that I can be content and happy in my life. And we hope that you all enjoyed listening to it as much as we did recording it.
All right. Is this thing on?
Well, howdy doody, everybody.
This is Braden Berry from Say We Can Fly, founder of Stay Cozy Clothing, your one-stop shop for the coziest, most fashionable hoodies, t-shirts, and more.
Gosh, Mickey.
That's right, folks. And we're proud to say that we are now sponsoring
the Chronicles of Podcast. Ouch.
Hosted by Tom and Jamie.
Like, you can get 10% off, man! That's right, Shaggy! Just use the special code, The Chronicles, at checkout.
Oh, boys!